Hi, welcome. In this video, we're going to go over some features of strings. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to create a uppercase version of a string. So you want to make sure that you include CC type, and this has a toUpper function. It also has a toLower function. It has other functions as well. For this, we're going to change our string to uppercase. So our function is going to, we're going to have our string here. And it's going to be happy. And it doesn't matter what case it's in. But if this is a string, it will have happy and it will have the null character here. So if this string, the name of this string is word, then it was declared to be string word. We're going to pass this string to our function. Then we're going to create a copy of this string called upper. So to do that, you just declare your string. This is inside of the function. You declare your string upper equals word, and that's going to make a copy of word. That is also a string. And then all you need to do is get the length. So you can just use the length. So this is our word, our original word, where I'm going to erase here so I have space to do the copy. So we're going to go and loop around. So to get the length, you would just say int length equals upper dot length. This is part of string, so we also want to include string. Of course, you have to pound include string. So we're using string and CC type. You need to do that. And if you're using string, you want to make sure that you do using namespace standard. All right, so now I have the length, and all I need to do is loop through, start at the beginning, and take my word that I have already here. This is upper. So I can just character by character change it to uppercase. So I would just say upper inside of my loop, upper at index I equals toUpper, that's the name of the function, and I pass it character by character. So it will character by character change it to uppercase. When I is 0, this H will become a capital H. I is 1. So this is a very straightforward way to take a character array and change it to all uppercase letters. The next thing we're going to do is talk about reversing. So if you pound include algorithm, you will have a reverse function. The reverse function, the secret here is that if your word comes in, you need to make a copy of it. And so once you make a copy of it, obviously we're using pound include string and using namespace standard with strings. So once you've made your copy, you have your word, you make your copy, then you can just use this function reverse, which is part of algorithm, and you pass it the beginning of your copy. So say it's called copy dot begin. Make sure that you include the parentheses because this is a function and part of the string class. Copy dot end, and this will produce a reversed version of your word. I recommend that you try and watch the other video and the other presentation and try to write the loop that reverses a word or reverses a copy of your word. So I recommend trying that. All right, so printing an array of numbers. This is very straightforward. You just have this, you have to have a length. So you start at the beginning. So if you have a length of any array, all arrays, they would start at the beginning when I is equal to 0, 1 less than the length, because if you have 6 numbers in your array, you're going to print out all 6 and then 7, because it starts at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would print out 6 numbers. And then when you get to the 6th index, that's actually the 7th number. So you use this to print a number array. You would also use this to print a string array. It's just that you can't use the same function to print a number array and a string array. So we will be using one function to print a number array and a different function to print a string array. If you want to just print a single string, as long as you have your string has the null character at the end, you don't need to go through a loop character by character to print out a single string. You can just print it with cout. Okay, so now here is how we're going to talk about making a ASCII. So when you have your word will come in. I'm going to draw a picture of this. So if our word, we're going to take the word happy, for example. So this is our word, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our index of our length would be 5. So what you want to do is you want to create another array. So you're going to have the length of this. So you're going to have a pointer that's going to get declared when the function is called. And then you're going to create a dynamic array that's going to be that size. So now I've created an integer array that has 0, 1, 2, 3, size 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've created an integer array that is going to be size 5. It's not size 6 because this is going to be the first empty spot. So this integer array is actually going to be size 5 because when you put this in here, this number is a 5. So the length is 5, it's not 6. And then we're going to put the ASCII value for the H here, for the A here, for the P here, and for the Y here. And we're going to have to keep a count, but we do have a count because we have an integer called length. So we need to make sure that we know how many, that we have 5 elements in this array. And the statement to convert it is very straightforward. All you have to do is take your word, pass it here, cast it to an integer, and then assign it to an integer array. So you just static cast it from a character. So this is a character. So when H comes in here, I'm going to cast the H to an integer. So H will come in here as a character. I will static cast that to an integer, and then I will assign it to the same location in my array. You will notice that when I is 0, it's going to get assigned here to 0. When it's 1, it'll go here, 2, 3. Okay, but you also need to, when you're going to print the array and calculate the average, you need to have an integer that knows how many integers, or a count of how many integers are in that array. And then after you print it and calculate it, be sure that you delete your dynamic array. All right, in this next slide, we're going to talk about how to make the NATO, how to assign the NATO words to your strings. So it's this is very straightforward. We have a character that's going to be passed by value, and you have a string that's going to be passed by reference. So when it comes in here, you have a character that comes in. It'll make a copy of that character. So say the character is an E, and then you have a string that's by reference. And so here, if it's E, then this is going to have, this string is going to become echo. I think it's uppercase and lowercase. So this is, I need more space here. So if the letter is E, then the string is going to be echo with the null character. Because it's a string, it'll automatically get that null character. And so all this function does is it has two parameters. The first parameter is a letter. So if letter is whatever letter is, it's going to assign, because this second parameter is a reference parameter. So since that's a reference parameter, it will change each time the function is called. So what I did is I just used if else, and then I had a last else that said word equals not just a space. So I did put a space here. So then it actually would be a string that has the space here and the null character. So then it'll actually stick a space in between in my string array. So you could do that. You could make it the empty string as well, but I wanted to make sure that it's going to put a space there when I make my string array. So this is just making, all this function does is this function is going to go through each letter, and based on what the letter is, assign the word to the letter. So we're putting it all together. This is the make NATO function. That's all this function does, is it makes a NATO string based on a letter. Then obviously you have to print your strings onto the screen. So it's the same way that you were printing your integers onto the screen, only you're going to have your second parameter is going to be a string. So for example, if your array looks like this, this is now a string array. So this would be, echo would be at index 0, alpha would be at index 1. I don't remember the words, but tango I think is 1. So this would be EAT. If your word was EAT, then this would be your string array. So all this function does is takes the length of this is 3. That means we have 3 strings in this array, and it's going to print the strings onto the screen. This end line right here is going to ensure that they are printed onto the screen in a column instead of in a row. And now here is the function that's going to put all of this together. You're going to have your word will come in. So again, we're going to use the word eat just because I know what those are. So we have E, A, and T. This is my word. This is my word. My word has a length, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So the length of my word is 3. So now we're just going to go through and we're going to one by one pass the letters and create our other array. It's a dynamic array, so you will see we are making a new dynamic array that's going to be the same size. So it's going to be size 0, 1, 2. So it's going to be size 3. 0, 1, 2. So when we're going to pass it, the first time we pass it, we're going to pass this character and this string. So the make NATO function is going to say, oh, that's an E. So then it's going to assign right here the word echo. Then we're going to change from I is 0 up to 1. So now we're going to be on our next letter and our next string, and it's going to assign alpha. If I'm wrong, this is just giving you the concept. Then I is going to be 2. So we're going to pass that character and this string, and then it's going to assign tango. And then our loop says less than length. So if length is 3, once we get to 3, we are no longer less than length. So now we have completed our string. So this is how you're going to, this is an overview of how to put all of this assignment together.